Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pain Bytes. My name is Deshi Dev, and I'm an occupational therapist, and I have been one for the last 26 years. And 14 of those years I've spent studying pain, working with people with pain, helping people with pain, and it's definitely a passion for me. So the field of persistent pain is a special interest for me. It's a special research interest for me as well. And I've done several courses and postgrad qualifications in this. I also run a company called Pain Coach, and what Pain Coach does is offers mentorship and teaching to other clinicians who want to learn about pain. So I run courses basically, and Pain Bites is my podcast. And I started Pain Bites because I actually just want to help people who suffer with persistent pain more. And I feel like the best way to help people with persistent pain is to actually help them access stories from other people who suffer with persistent pain, who have managed to recover, who've managed to succeed in living lives with meaning and purpose, despite the fact that they live with pain on a daily basis. So today, I am welcoming Virginia McIntyre, who is a lived experienced, lived experience expert. I would like to put it that way. She's involved in many ventures, and I'm going to read her qualifications because she's involved in so many things that I don't want to miss out any details of that. So Virginia McIntyre is the president and the executive director for People in Pain Network. She also holds a BA in community studies, and she has a diploma in radiology and MRI. She's also done multiple courses in leadership development. She works extensively with as a lived experience partner on several research studies and programs. She also serves on many committees. So she serves on the Pain Academy National Advisory Committee. She's the chair of the Canadian Pain Society People with Lived Experience Committee. She's also part of the Atlantic Mentorship Network Advisory Committee. She's a public presenter and speaker who focuses on pain-related topics with committed diligence to increasing awareness of persistent pain and peer support. So Virginia developed persistent pain in 2009 after she had a shoulder injury. And that's interesting, right? Because the shoulder injury, when we think of a shoulder injury, we think, that's nothing major. I mean, we all can hurt our shoulder and we get over it, right? But that's where your journey started, with something that I think a lot of people will think is benign. You know, it's not something that should have caused you persistent pain. So Virginia, just to set the scene and to give a context to your pain, I need you to go back to that space or that place in the beginning, in the very beginning, and it could have been 2009 or 2010, where you were in a really dark place in terms of the fact that you weren't coping with your pain, you were struggling, every day was a struggle, you didn't know if there was going to be a way out. Some of the other people that I've interviewed have said that it's like, a prison. I call it that dark place, that dark place where it feels like it's never going to get better. Could you just describe for us a little bit of what that felt like and what that experience was for you?
Absolutely. I call it a dark hole, a dark pit of agony. And
Yes.
that shoulder surgery was supposed to be okay. I had the injury and a shoulder surgery, and 6 weeks you're supposed to get back. And because
Yeah.
this was odd that happened with this pain, nobody could identify it. So
Yeah.
yes, from one healthcare to another. So it does. It really puts you in that really dark place where nobody believes you. You're alone.
Yeah.
You become a lot of self-destruction because I'm taking meds, whatever I can get my hands on to try to numb it. I had a
Yeah.
lot of feelings of guilt that I'm not with my family, fear I'm never going to get out of this hole, and a lot of
Mm.
like Honestly, I didn't even like myself anymore. I didn't like that I couldn't participate in my family. I'm in tears all the time. I'm hiding out. I couldn't work. It was the most loneliest place I've ever been. And you think we have a disease, and if you have another disease, people there to help you. But this one, people walk away and they don't believe you. So the loneliness and the guilt and the fear that you're never going to be able to function or participate in your
Mm.
family again is so strong and so horrible. I just to think about it and to hear other people are going through it now just breaks my heart. And because there's such a lack of pain care out there,
Yeah,
and it's suffering like this all the time and dealing with this trauma.
yeah. So what I'm hearing from what you said actually is you withdrew from life. You
Absolutely.
actually just withdrew from your life, right? You started giving up everything you enjoyed. You started stopped interacting with your family. You just withdrew from your life, and it really was what stood out for you is it's this invisible nature of pain that we talk about, right? Because people can't always see it. I mean, unless you really have your arm cut off and people know, or it's in a cast, or you got crutches and you're limping. So unless it's that obvious thing that someone can see, they don't really think you're in pain, or they're like, well, is she? Yeah.
And it's exactly that. I mean, and I withdrew, but I really had no choice because I couldn't function and I couldn't get off the couch. And then, then when people
Yeah.
told me, and you're right, it's just people don't see it. I was just at a conference and there's one person who lives with pain walking around with a cane, and people are like, "Are you okay?"
Mm.
And even though I'm doing better now, nobody would think to ask, "Am I okay? Are you remembering to take your break?" Because you don't see it. You still,
Yeah. It's that
even though I'm not,
invisible nature.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
still, yeah.
It's just invisible. It really is. And I mean, I've worked with many patients, and that's a common thread for people, particularly with persistent pain. I think with acute pain it's different because acute pain is a completely different context. But when you've got persistent pain, often you have good days, or often you have days where you are walking around and you do, inverted commas, look normal, right? You do look like you're okay. You do look that you can go shopping or sit and have coffee and you're fine. But just because you look like you're okay does not mean that you're okay. Not, I mean, not even a little bit. Not
And just
even a little bit.
outside for an hour. That doesn't mean the other ones you're not in the house on the couch. Or,
Yes.
we learn to walk around when we start to recover a bit with this pain. And then for mine now, it's a lower scale all the time. But you
Yeah.
learn to hide it well too.
Yeah, you do. You do learn to hide it, and a lot of my clients hide it too because it is about how people judge you. Unfortunately, when you have pain, there is a stigma, and there's definite judgment and bias towards people with pain. I've seen it time and time again. So I would definitely agree with you. Okay, so you were in this really deep, dark space, this horrible dark hole. What was the thing? What was the first thing that kind of was an inkling for you to kind of go, wait, hang on a sec. I think I think I might be able to get out of this hole. I might be able to move forward. What was the one thing that kind of started that journey for you?
The start of that journey for me was when I was finally someone had that light bulb moment to do a referral to a pain clinic and thought maybe I love with this chronic pain and to go there. And I never heard of the term chronic pain before, persistent pain, never heard of it. And for someone to sit there and listen to me, to not get up and walk away, not to roll their eyes, and to believe that my pain was real. And that was the first. And as I cried and the story come out, I wasn't shut down. And that was huge. That was just huge because it was the first time that someone in years believed, because I didn't know what was going wrong with me. I had no idea what this unexplained pain was. So when someone could tell me what it was, what had happened, and provide some knowledge, it really made a huge difference. And it was just one piece of the puzzle that started moving things along.
Yeah, so it was the fact that you had a referral to a specialized pain clinic, and then someone listened to your story. So they actually listened to you. They didn't kind of go, yes, yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. And tell me more about, yes, yes. Oh, and here we go. Here's some medication. Take it. I'll see you in 3 weeks. It was a completely different setting where someone actually sat you down and kind of went, tell me about your story and listened to you. And then once they'd listened to you, they were like, okay, let me tell you a little bit about what I think is going on. And then started to tell you a little bit more about the science of pain. Yes?
Yeah. And that was used. The knowledge piece came in because they also listened and they asked, how is the pain impacting your life? How is it, affecting you in your workplace, which I was out of at that time. But yeah, it was, and then it was the building the team around me then with this pain physician being at the hub of it and providing knowledge about self-management, about pain, about resources. And I mean, it took time, but I
Yeah.
did down another path and probably the first time in years was able to have hope.
Yeah. And that's important. That's really important. One of my other people that I'd interviewed on the podcast also spoke about hope and said how important hope is. And I think we underestimate that. I don't know if we think about hope enough, in a healthcare context, I'll be honest. I'm not sure that we actually do. And I think it's really important to have hope that you can recover, to have hope that things will be better, to have hope that you can do this, that you as a person can actually go forward and do this, I think is quite important.
It
Yeah.
is, but it's not. I think you need to realize too, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
Have that team, and what I decided to do years later, because so many people are years, and I don't know if it's the same years to see a pain physician. There's a huge lack of knowledge, pain care, resources. I mean, I had to drive an hour and a half one way. So it's a 3-hour commute to see somebody. That's a barrier for many. So what I decided years later, when I was getting my feet under me, was to help fill the gaps in really a failing healthcare system and open a peer pain self-management support groups and a unique one that we're offering education and support with trained facilitators. And in my book, said, well, I'm going to do this for other people. Well, it was just the opposite. Going in this room and having these people around you who are sharing their stories too. And you can go out because you don't see your pain doctors all the time and sharing with them how you're taking the science and put into daily lives was huge to go in this place and because you still don't share with the public that you live with pain or your friends or no, I don't anyways, but you go in there and share and take that mask off and you can breathe. That helped progress my recovery and it helps me with when I do flare-ups. It just helps in that space of feeling like a little bit of a home base, a place you can go and just feel really safe to share.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that safety is quite important. I think it's really important. So if we then had to say, what were your top three, I'm calling it things, but I mean, it's much more than things. What are the top three tools, strategies, things that actually, if you had to look back now, because it's been a while, right? It's been a long time. But if you had to look back, what are the top three things that you would say in your journey of recovery, in your journey to getting to here, to where you are now, where you're thriving actually, despite your pain? What were the top three things that helped you?
I think knowledge about pain, because as you build knowledge about pain, you also build about self-management, about pacing, role of mindfulness and meditation. And I do all those things. Movement with ease, being a type A personality and a marathon runner, my idea was to run 15, 20 kilometers and realize, no, I can't do that. So these were really part of helping me move things forward. So it was really is that knowledge piece and self-management piece. And the peer support has been really huge with me moving forward in the team, building a team that believes you, because your team's going to be in and out of your journey probably forever because the pain doesn't go away. So
No,
your
it
team
does not.
will have
No,
that team
it does not.
all the
Yeah.
time. Need to go in, and yeah, I would say those would be my things.
Okay, so so we'll go back to that. So knowledge definitely, and you spoke a lot about knowledge, right? So knowledge absolutely, it empowers you, it helps you understand what's happening with you. And I think on some level that's also making you feel a little bit safer, right? Because you kind of now have some answers to the questions you've always had
Yes. And
when you have pain. Yeah.
management and what help it empowers you. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think it empowers you. And then the second thing I would say is then having that support, meeting other people, like you talked about the groups that you'd started, and then there were other people there with pain, and you could all just take off the mask and relax and kind of go, oh, I've had a bad day today. Yeah, the pain's getting me today. Today I know I'm going to have to, take that medication or have that bath or do whatever it is that you need to do. But today it's a flare up day. It's having the ability to be in a space that's supportive enough, safe enough that you can actually say that and not feel that someone's going to judge you, not feel that someone's going to say, well, is she really in that much pain? Like what actually is going on here? So actually I think, yeah, that for me would be your number two. Would you agree?
100%. 100%. That's safe space and validation. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That people get you. That, they get me, they get my experience, they know where I'm at, and they're not judging me for it. They're not making, they're not thinking, making conclusions that are inappropriate about my lived experience of pain. And then I think the third one, which is quite important, is the team.
Yes.
I think it's choosing your team firstly. It's finding them, because sometimes finding them is a problem. Forget about choosing, it's finding them. I mean, in our country, and from what you're speaking about, it's probably the same with you. And I think it's like this all over the world, which is why I am interviewing people from all over the world as well. Is I don't think it's that different country to country. We struggle to find people, clinicians rather, who are experts in pain management. I mean, and that's why I started Pain Coach, because I just got so frustrated that there were all these doctors treating my patients who didn't know enough. And you can't blame them because, I think clinicians and doctors, if they know better, they will do better. But often people don't know. They just don't know, and you can't blame them because they're not getting their amount of education they need to get at undergraduate, right? So they're not getting what they need to in medical school. They come out as doctors and they're going to cure the world. And then what happens is they come across a persistent pain client, and they're also deflated because they're like, well, I've done everything I can now. All I can do is give her more medication and opioids and maybe we must consider a spinal cord stimulator. And it just goes on and on and on, right? And that journey keeps getting worse, actually, instead of getting better. And so I do think it is about finding the right people, and that's not so easy. And I don't think that's restricted to a country, in my experience. But Virginia, you've had experience with people all over the world. I don't know if you agree with me with that.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, within my organization, I get to talk to people nationally all over Canada, and I listen to people all over the world, right? And we're all struggling the same thing as finding that team, finding people who know about pain or have time. I mean, a clinician here only has like 10 minutes. I mean, how do you ask someone about their pain and how it's affecting them if you only have 10 minutes? And often, like you said, the clinicians, they go in to fix you. Well, you can't fix us, but you can
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think that's really important to note. You can't fix pain. That for me is one of the biggest things. And a lot of the clinicians that I teach and I, mentor all come in with this view that I'm going to teach them how to fix pain. And day one, all of them get a very rude awakening and a shock when I kind of go, there's no silver bullet.
no.
We can't solve this problem. Pain's not going to go away. If you're treating someone with persistent pain, they're probably going to have pain for the rest of their lives. But what you can do is you can support them. You can help them be more functional. You can find out what's really important for them and help them get there. You can guide them. You can be there for them. There's so many things you can do for people with pain, and you really can help them, and they can become functional. They can go back to work-related activity. They can do all kinds of things. but you also have to accept that you can't cure them. And that I find for clinicians, for doctors, nurses, physios, whoever I'm speaking to, occupational therapists, I find they really struggle with accepting for themselves that they can't take it away. So it's not just the fact that they don't know how to take it away or they don't know how to help you. It's also accepting the fact that as a clinician, they're not going to be able to cure you. They're not going to be able to offer you that one thing that makes you so happy that you bounce out the door and you don't come back. You see, and the problem is the reason that that is that way is because that's how we've been trained, Virginia. We've been trained that people walk in the door and we give them X, Y, and Z and we get them better and we send them on their way. And yes, it might take a few sessions, but eventually we send them on their way and they're going to be fine. And with persistent pain, we can't do that because we can't do that. I mean, if we could do that, then somewhere in the world, someone would be incredibly rich because there is a large amount of people who suffer with pain and everyone would be going to that door, right? Everyone would be going there. But it doesn't work like that.
And there's different things that work for everybody to help them become more functional, which makes it even more complex.
Exactly. Exactly.
That listening is powerful too.
Yes, extremely powerful. And you're right. It's that individual journey that is everyone's journey, which is why I started Pain Bytes. And I can tell you that even though I've interviewed a few people now with persistent pain, and everyone has had a significant pain journey and suffered with pain for many years, and they've all recovered and they have great stories of how they've recovered. It is so interesting to see that every single one of you has a different story. Different things have stood out for you in your journey. Different things have helped you. It's, like when I started this, I thought, I wonder if everyone's going to tell me the same things. And it's been completely different. So it's been really cool because I knew it would be like this, but it was really amazing to see it really is like this, This is what it is.
But do you think there's a lot of similarities in the stories too of the not being believed and
Yes.
eye rolls and that sort of stuff?
So there are similarities. There are similarities in what happened before they got to that space of being able to help themselves, before they got to that space of self-management, before they got to that space where they found the team or the team members in a team that spoke to them, specifically. So yes, I think finding your team is huge. And then it's all about that team needs to support you in your journey. And that can mean a number of things. It is listening to you. It's providing the right tools, the right strategies, helping you when you stumble, because you are going to stumble several times, and you're going to get there, but it is going to take you a while. So it's also helping you to move from, I think it is Pain BC calls it a pain-centered life. They have that diagram that's coming to mind where they talk about a pain-centered life. So you want to move, I think it is them. You want to move away from a pain-centered life to live a life that's actually more centered around meaning, values, the things that are important to us. Yeah. Yeah. And it's different for everyone. I agree. It's completely different. So your top 3 would be knowledge, learning about your pain. It's going to be the support and safety that you find in just being with other people who have pain and kind of talking about it and, having a coffee possibly, but also then finding and being supported by the right team for the rest of your journey, however long that's going to take with that team. And you're right, teams do come and go, and teams are in your journey for a period of time, and they might leave and they might come back, because I have seen my patients with pain, and it's usually an initial period until we get people on that right, path, and they're all doing well, and then they see us less, and then sometimes they come back for a little bit more, and then they stop, and then they might come back further down the line. But the point is, you find the right person for you or right people for you, and you decide when you need them, actually, because it's about you as the person who lives with pain, right? You've got to make that decision. I need you now. I don't need you now. I need you a little bit more. I need you less. It's about your needs, actually, at the end
And
of
you
the day.
go along.
Yeah.
You learn what you need as you go along. You learn, as I like how you say, as you stumble, as you go along, what you need. You really do learn in this space.
Yeah, you do learn. I always tell my clinicians, it's a journey of self-awareness. We learn a lot about ourselves. It teaches you a lot about your pain, teaches you so much about yourself. You know, you have to dig deep. You have to dig really deep. So you dig really deep, but what you learn about yourself is also beneficial, right? And I guess on some level we have to say that if we didn't experience this significant pain experience, if we didn't have this pain experience, would we have learned as much about ourselves? I'm not so sure,
Yeah,
because in a way, going there to that dark place actually taught you a lot about yourself.
it really did. No, I couldn't agree more. This is a lifelong learning, and there's things I've learned about myself that I never even thought I knew. Things that were, how to how to be resilient, that I can be resilient, that, these things, that I can brush things off. It's not just go, go, go. It's,
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like what you're saying, that you had to learn how to be resilient, because I think that resilience is a word we use, but I don't know if we always understand it. And I think that when you go through hardship, and going through persistent pain is definitely hardship and adversity. And that's when you learn what you're made of, right? That's when you're like, okay, I got this, but it's gonna be hard, and I can't do this. You've kind of, gotta be in that space. Okay. So now the question I'm going to ask you is, if we go back to that dark hole that you were in, let's think about someone who is in that dark hole at this point in time. So someone who's really suffering, who's on the couch, in bed, able to leave maybe for an hour a day, sometimes maybe not, really in a space where all of the tools, strategies, all of the medication, all of the help that they have sought for their pain hasn't worked. And they feel like there are doors, but all the doors are closed now. They don't know which door to open. They don't know if they can open a door. They think the doors are like locked. There's no way for them to actually get out. What would be your one piece of advice for that person? What would be the one thing you would tell them to help them open a door, possibly?
wow, I'm going to say two.
Yeah, say two. Go for it.
One, I think you really need to believe that your pain is real. Don't let them get you thinking that your pain's not real. This is real. This is it. And, it is one of the most loneliest places to ever be. And it's isolating. So looking for those support groups as you're trying to find out how to build your team and what to do. Because at least that if you connect with a very well-run pain support group, you're connecting with other people who are living with pain. And someone who lives with pain who's doing well knows how
Yeah.
to care system, knows out there who works with people living with pain well, knows how to listen. It might be a really good door to go down to as you're trying to find stuff. And because I know all our healthcare systems really have gaps in them around the chronic pain space. So I would be my tool. Go in there, realize, believe in yourself, that believe your pain is real, go to the support group and be kind to yourself. Really try to be kind.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Virginia. Being kind to yourself. I really do. Because that has been my experience time and time again, is that the people that I've treated with pain, they're not kind to themselves. They're really not kind to themselves. And I don't know if it's the world we live in now, and I say now, but it was the same 10 years ago. So, it's this expectation that you've got to do everything, you've got to be everything. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to to be a certain way, in terms of how we put ourselves out there in the world, of how we function, of how we work, of what kind of mom you are, of what kind of worker you are, what kind of friend you are, what kind of sister you are. Like we have these expectations of ourselves, and what I find is that we're not kind to ourselves. So then when we're in a space where we have pain and we can't get to do the things in the way that we need to do them, then it's almost like you punish yourself. Oh, why can't I do that? What's wrong with me? Why can't I be there for my daughter? Or why can't I go to work today? Or what is wrong with me? And then we obviously go down the wrong path. But I agree with you. It's that being kind. It's
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I know when I was in that dark hole, I mean, how could I be kind to myself then when myself let me down? Myself wouldn't let me be part of my family. Myself had me going towards disability, So, you know, and that's I
Yeah.
look, that was that really me? But it was. Be kind to yourself. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is that thing of being able to say it's okay, but it's so hard to do. It's hard to kind of go, it's okay. It's okay that I can't. It's okay that for now, I'm going to have to wait for a solution, or I'm going to just have to be in the space. I think it's really hard for people to say that to themselves, to say it's okay, to say doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm here now. I I somehow will find a way, but it's okay. It's okay to be in the space where I'm not okay. I think that's it. It's okay to not be okay, right? Yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree with you. So you would say to them first, believe in yourself,
Mhm.
believe your pain, and believe that your pain is real.
Yeah.
Don't doubt yourself just because other people are doubting you. So that would be your first thing that you would tell them. And then the second thing you would tell them is find some support with other people who live with pain. So find a support group. So even if you can't find your treating team, if you can't find the people who are going to help you in your medical journey, go and look and find a support group. I think for me, the difficulty with the second one is that there are a lot of support groups out there, and some clinicians, some patients have told me that the stuff people say on support groups
Fine.
quite are quite
Well,
scary actually, and they go once and then they never want to go back because they're like terrified about what they're going to hear on the support group.
unfortunately, that happens. Find a well-run support group. Like with us in People in Pain Network, our facilitators are trained. We have a consistency across Canada with some of the national organizations who run support groups. So there's competencies they have to meet. There's continuous training, and there's always that education component, which is always science-based evidence. So find a well-run one, and unfortunately, there's still not enough.
Yeah, so I was going to say that. So I think the difficulty is that it's not always accessible to people, and how do you know, as a person in pain, how do you know if the support group is well run or not? It's really hard to tell. I mean, I like what you're saying, that you have standards and you have science, and you have people that are trained. So I think it is difficult to just find the right group, because I think there are lots of closed groups, for example, on platforms like Facebook, and I don't know if there are other platforms where it's just a group for people with pain, but it's not a public group, so you have to ask to be part of it. But then, yeah, then it's just a Facebook group, I suppose.
Yeah. And then if you get that feeling when you get in there, it's not running, it's just all growling, get out. Ask questions. Are they trained? Watch your facilitators. How do they navigate the meetings? Yeah. And if you'll know your first meeting, you should know your first meeting. And if it's not, get out because you don't
Yeah.
want to set you back. It's like going to a healthcare provider who doesn't know what they're doing either. They can set you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. So I think for me, I would like to just really promote what you're doing and say that people should really contact the People in Pain Network, as a starting point, because you could definitely, because you have contacts all over the world, you probably would be able to point them in somewhat of a right direction.
Or maybe
You know.
group that's well run.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I'm also very happy to put you in contact with any one of my contacts that I might have specifically in South Africa for support. And you can access my details via my website or just email me on info@paincoachsa.co.za. So I think there's a lot of help, there's a lot of resources out there, but I do think that people don't know where to turn because they've no one's told them about it. And I think that that's part of the reason I'm doing the podcast is also just to get that information out there and to help as many people as we can, because I think it's really, really important. So before we end our podcast for today, is there any last thoughts or comments that you'd like to give?
Um, just, like I had said, that you're not alone with your pain. There's good people out there. And what you're doing, this is amazing. This is amazing. It's getting people who live with pain, who've gotten to the other side, sharing their little tips. And I think that'll go a long way. So I thank you for doing this and including me. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Virginia. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.